If you've been shopping for a new sewing machine, I'm sure you've seen long lists of features like automatic buttonholes and needle threaders and adjustable foot pressure. That's not what this video is about, but if you have questions about those, I do have a free download that you can get in the description that talks about those features and which features you may or may not want on your sewing machine. What this video is about things that affect your user experience. It's the difference between being able to change your fan speed in your car with just a simple turn of the dial, or to find the right buttons among all these buttons and push one a bunch of times to lower the fan speed and one a bunch of times to raise the fan speed. The first three things I'm going to show you have to deal with how easy it is to maintain your machine. It's really important to maintain your machine regularly because that's what keeps it running well and keeps you not frustrated while using your machine. I often come across comments in social media like this one where she had not used her machine for a very long time and had been hand sewing instead because it had stopped working. But in reality, all she had to do was to clean it out and it started working perfectly again. Doing basic maintenance is really important, and these first three things that I'm going to discuss can make your maintenance experience easier or harder. Let's get started. First thing to consider is this silver part underneath the needle and the foot. This is called the throat plate, and it's there to cover a lot of working pieces inside the machine. As you sew, you create a lot of lint, and that lint gets stuck underneath inside these moving parts of the machine. And it's important to clean these out. I clean this out after every project in order to keep my machine running nicely. To do that, on this machine, it's very easy to take this throat plate off. I just hit a couple buttons and it comes right off. I can clean it out and then it goes right back on again. Super simple. There's nothing to stop me from cleaning out this regularly. On this machine, there are two screws you have to unscrew. The machine comes with this really dinky excuse for a screwdriver to use to unscrew that, which takes forever to go around and around. And you could buy a new screwdriver, but it's not going to probably be one that you have around because you can see how short the distance is here in order to do this. So you have to unscrew both of these screws, take out the plate, and then screw both of these screws in again. This takes a lot longer than the other machine. The harder it is to do, the more frustrated you're going to be doing it, and also the less likely it is that you're going to do it on a regular basis, which means you'll probably have more problems with your machine and how well it works. The next thing that you have to do regularly to maintain your machine is to change your needle. You need to change your needle after every 6 to 8 hours of sewing, or after every project is what I usually do. And you can see on this machine, this needle clamp screw is really easy to grasp. It's really nice and big. It's easy to tighten and loosen. On this machine, it is a little smaller, and so it's a little harder to tighten and loosen it, especially to get it tight. But it does have a little way on the end to put a screwdriver in there so you can use the screwdriver to tighten and loosen it as you change your needle. The last thing having to do with the maintenance is the manual. A lot of new machines these days don't come with an actual manual. They come with a quick start guide, and then you have to go online and find a PDF and print it out if you want to have a manual on hand to look at for the finer details of how to maintain your machine. But more important than whether it comes printed out for you or not is how well that manual is written and how much it actually includes. I have looked through a lot of different manuals online now because when someone asks a question in a comment, I often will go look up the manual online to see if I can figure out what's going on based on information in the manual, what kind of features they have on their machine. And I can tell you, some manuals are very, very clear. They have beautiful pictures, they're written really well, and you can understand what you're supposed to do and how all the different features work on your machine. Other manuals, not so much. So ask to see the manual and look through the manual and see if it makes sense, whether it's clear, logical, and well organized. It should at the back have a troubleshooting section. The troubleshooting section will help you when you have problems and save you a lot of time and money. You'll be able to fix a lot of things yourself just by using the manual instead of having to take it in for service. Beyond these first three things of user experience having to do with how easy it is to maintain your machine, there are four other things I'd like to mention that affect your day-to-day experience with the machine. The first one involves the presser foot. This is the presser foot right here, and if you haven't used a machine before, you may not realize how much of a difference using the correct presser foot for your particular project matters, but it does. You'll want to be changing this. Depending on what kind of sewing you're doing, you may be changing it quite often, even multiple times during one project, like making a garment. Different machine manufacturers have different presser foot systems. This is a Bernina, and its presser foot, you just, to change it, you take it off like that. You just put a new one back on again. It's pretty quick. Many of the other manufacturers have snap-on presser feet. These feet just come off like this. You can see they're just the bottom part of the foot that changes, and then it's easy to just snap a new one back on just like that. Just practice this a couple times in the store to see if you like the way it works, whether it makes sense and it works well for you. Another big thing that will play a big role in your user experience with your machine is how much light is here so that you can see while you're sewing what's happening at the needle and what's happening with your fabric. The light from the room is really not going to shine under here very well because it's underneath the machine. So make sure you turn on that light, make sure it really gives the amount of light that you need for your eyes to see what you're doing. The next thing is, how much does that sewing machine weigh? Can you lift it? Now, this depends on what you're planning on doing with your sewing machine. If you have a spot in your house where your sewing machine is going to get set up and stay there and you're never going to take it out to class or anything else, then it really doesn't matter how much it weighs. You're not going to be moving it. But if you're going to be taking it to class, or if you can't be set up all the time to sew, so you'll be taking it in and out of a closet every time you want to sew, how much it weighs makes a big difference. If you are dreading yanking that sewing machine out of the closet and setting it up, you're not going to want to sew, and then you will have a very poor user experience because you're not sewing. The last thing I want to talk about is something that I've heard people talk about online and I don't have any personal experience with, and that is a touch screen. Now, obviously, if you have a machine like mine with just mechanical knobs and buttons, then you'd want to check those out and make sure that you like the way they work and that they work easily. But the touchscreen seems to be a whole nother issue. I've heard people talk about whether or not they can see the touchscreen when the light is really bright or the light is really dim in their sewing room, how well their fingers actually work on the touchscreen, whether it's easy to push each button, whether things are too close together and you can't get the right one because your finger's too big. And last, how much sense do those menus on the touchscreen make? There are often many different menus on a touchscreen for a sewing machine, and you should try them out in the store and see if they make logical sense to you. Does it make sense? Is it going to be easy to adjust the things you adjust often on that touchscreen? So those are just 7 things I recommend you try out in the store to make sure that you're going to have a good time with your sewing machine. Remember, ease of maintenance really matters. How easy it is to take that throw plate on and off, how easy it is to change that needle. And again, if you are a new sewer and you're wondering what some of those features that are described on the sewing machines that you're looking at are, I do have the free download. You can get it in the description. It talks about what those features are, what they do, and what you might use them for. Remember, a sewing machine is supposed to help you in your creative experience. It's supposed to give you an experience where you can have happy sewing.